with infrastructure best suited for modern technology. The school is affiliated to CBSE board with a strength of 1900 students. The school aims at all-round development of students, enabling them to be spiritually oriented, morally upright, intellectually well-informed, socially concerned, nationally conscious, and appreciative of their culture. In a nutshell, our main purpose is the overall development of an individual, which helps in building a flourishing and prosperous family, community, society, and turn a nation. So, sir, with these words, I would like you to preside over the today's session.
Thank you, Vandana ma'am, and thank you, Sister Lobo. It's a true honor to be here today. Sometimes you start with a small glitch, and today, we are starting a little late. But I can assure you that, when you start with a bit of a glitch, hopefully the end is superior and better. As I said, my name is Atul Khosla, and me and Vivek Atray will take you through this journey of finding success within. Who else could be better than speaking on this topic than Vivek, who's an author on this subject? Just about ideas that matter, the series of webinars that we do. It was a small idea that we had 3 months back, an idea to connect school teachers, and ideas to create a platform of sharing thoughts and sharing ideas. Today, we're very proud to say that we've covered more than 150 institutions across India, as far as Calcutta and Gujarat. We've spoken to more than 100,000 teachers so far on various topics from leadership to finding success within. So I won't take more time. I'm going to have Vivek take it up from here. Vivek will bring me in for a few thought starters, thought pointers, and also a couple of videos that I'd like to show to all of you. Vivek, over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Atul Khosla, and thank you very much, Principal Ma'am and Vandana Ma'am. Very
Thank you,
nice
sir.
to see you all.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank you.
Sister Principal, I'm reminded of my own school days in St. John's High School, Chandigarh, when
Oh,
we had Irish brothers, and we used to be very happy to be learning from them, and Indian brothers as well. So it was nice. And my sisters were in Sacred Heart, where sisters are still, I think,
yeah,
teaching.
26.
That's right. So very nice to be speaking to the staff of Infant Jesus School. As Atul said, this Ideas That Matter is a series which has been continuing for more than 3 months. We've touched many teachers and parents and students also at times. And these ideas actually matter. It's a great series. We've got all these videos on YouTube. Your teachers can watch the other topics also later. You've chosen the fantastic topic of finding success within. As Atul said, I'm the author of a book on this. This book, I'll be talking about it a little bit more later. So why are we talking about success? Because all of us, as Atul often says, I'm also a teacher. He's a teacher. You are teachers. So what is success for a teacher? Success for a teacher is probably finding that students are doing well, that you are content with your performance, that you are satisfied with your work, that you are balanced in your life. That is true success. The teacher is not going to become suddenly a rocket scientist or a millionaire or a billionaire or the founder of Amazon like companies. A teacher will find success in teaching. And therefore, we have to really delve deep into what it means to be successful as a teacher. So as I often say, a retired teacher was standing at a bus stand and somebody came up to him and said, "Sir, you were my teacher in school and I remember so well your lessons and you used to inspire me so much. And this is my wife, these are my 2 children, and we all bow before you for your lovely, fantastic teaching that you used to as a teacher." And so that boy, that man now, he is so delighted to see his school teacher standing there, meeting him 10 years after that teacher has retired and not expecting anyone to come up to him. That is the true earning of that teacher. That is the goodwill that that teacher has earned. And those children and who grow up to be parents, they then tell their children about those teachers who have inspired them. I remember, as I was talking about my own school days, I remember a teacher, Brother Murray, and he was teaching English. I had come from a Delhi school, modern school, to Delhi, to Chandigarh, St. John's, and in class 9, I was quiet, shy, because I'd just come a few days ago, and Brother Murray was teaching, and he suddenly said, he asked a question, and it was something beginning with an O. I said, offing, in the offing. Something is in the offing means something is going to happen. So he said, good boy. Now the whole class looked at me, and 45 or 40 boys, and I remember still that look. And suddenly I became popular, and they realized that this person who has come from Delhi knows a few things or is smart enough. So I realized at that point of time that, today also I feel inspired by that incident. So it is something that a teacher can do. A teacher can improve the life of a child with proper encouragement, guidance, and teaching. And if that moment stays with you, and the student forever, that means the teacher has done a great job of whatever he is doing. Also, negative statements also stay with the students. So it is often said that you have to be very careful before saying something, because a biting remark can actually lead to years of crisis. We often have in Indian society and films, they show two brothers who fought with each other, their families fought, and they built a wall between their houses. And that is because one remark made in a poor moment of without thinking, which hurt the other party, made such a dent. What is success? Success is the ability to control your happiness, to be happy from within. And what is happiness from within? It is basically allowing your thoughts to move in the right direction, allowing your thoughts to go to what they should go to, and not allowing them to go to places where they will lead to anger and discontentment and irritation and breaking relationships. So if we are able to control our temper, control our emotions, control our thoughts, in that sense, control our words, then we will be successful, because we have conquered the demons within. And conquering the demons within is what life is about. That's how you find success. And your mind is the place where this battle is taking place of Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is the Gita, and where Lord Krishna delivered the message of the Bhagavad Gita. But the point is that even today, we are fighting that Kurukshetra within our mind and learning, hopefully, that these bad tendencies and good tendencies are still battling it out. And we have to win that battle by understanding these are our strong points, these are our weak points, these are our angry moments, these are our weak moments. If we analyze as grown-ups maturely, without being partial to our weaknesses, we should analyze ourselves and turn the spotlight of introspection upon ourselves as teachers, as professionals, as grown-ups, as parents. Then we'll see that these are our flaws and we can work on them. One of the things which helps is meditation. Meditation, practice of calmness and creativity. These will make you happier. Finding success is linked to your creative habit, creative choices. For example, you're a teacher of history, but you also love music. You sing, you listen, you enjoy, you appreciate classical music, other types of music, whatever it is. And you also do some photography or writing or sports or painting or whatever you do. That creative spirit in a teacher and of course in students will give rise to greater happiness. The happiness index of any human being will be higher if that human being is a creative individual doing other things other than the work and life which is at home. So you cannot just be about work and life at home. It has to be something else, something that you want to do which is different, something that you want to do which will take the mold and which will you will look forward to that. You've been working hard the whole week, 1/2 a day you have, let's say one day you have for yourself. That day you want to make, you want to paint. That will be something which will give you true joy. Nothing can give you true joy as much as that. Let us look at some creative people. Let us look at someone like Walt Disney. Walt Disney was rejected by all kinds of producers. And Walt Disney was a very creative person. We know today all the cartoons, all the movies. Disney is such a powerful name today. Even I think on Hotstar and Disney Channel have tied up. and they have great films and great movies. Where did it all start from? From Walt Disney. And Walt Disney was rejected by so many, but finally his creativity won the day. We have to seek inspiration. People think that we are old now, or we are older. We are in our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. Why do we need to be inspired? We become a little cynical and we become a little bored of inspiration. But if we are inspired, then we seek new victories every day and we try to do new things. Even the same lesson that you taught for the last 10 years in geography or physics or whatever it is, and you go to class with new vigor and decide that today I'm going to tell the students a different kind of example. That is what really matters. That is how you are more creative. And if you look at it, today is the era of webinars and you are speaking on a camera. Even then, you can make the class, whatever you're saying, more interesting. And what is success after all? Again, for a teacher, it is giving that happiness, that learning, that inspiration to the children and feeling joyous about that and being loved by the students. That is absolutely what your performance indicator is. Atul will come in a little while. In a little while, he'll talk about the corporate assessments which take place, appraisals which take place, your KRAs or PRAs or whatever it is. And there you have, here, the students love you as a teacher, they follow you, they learn from you. That is your key assessment point. Over to you, Atul, and I'll carry on with some more points. Atul will share his own thoughts on the topic and also inspire us, hopefully, with a video.
Thank you so much, Vivek. I think extremely inspiring thoughts. I would like to leave one word behind all the teachers, and that is the word called inspiration. You as teachers are inspiring your students every day. And inspiration or great inspiration can create magic, Vivek. It can make ordinary students extraordinary. And that's the role of a great teacher. And I think all of you are doing that pretty much every day. So I spent most of my life in the industry. I worked for a consulting firm, a multinational firm. I worked in different parts of the world. And one day the teaching bug hit me, Vivek, and I, around 9 years back, decided to get into teaching. I can say without doubt that I have never been happier. When a student comes to me and says, "Sir, you truly inspired me to do something," I get so happy, and I think this is so priceless. So inspiration, Vivek, can come from very different ways, different forums, different, I would say, methodologies. One way, of course, as a teacher is to be a role model for your student. The second way is to give a right direction to the student, bringing up role model stories of other people. The third way is to create an environment that's inspirational, creating an environment where students can ask questions, they can challenge the status quo, flexibility, agility. These are all ways to create inspiration. And of course, the space. So, I'm going to tease all of you. All of you are in Mohali and we are in Solan. I'm in Solan. Vivek, of course, is in Panchkula. So I'm going to show a small video on Shoolini. It's my way to tease all of you, but it's my way to also create inspiration for the students. So if you allow me, Vivek, I'm going to play the small video.
Please, please.
Here you go. So, Vivek, when we think about success, we think about success for ourselves. As teachers, we're giving success to others. And to me, that creates happiness. I'm going to talk about happiness when I come back, but over to you till then.
Thank you very much, Atul. Atul rightly said that spaces, environment, company, all these things create the right conditions for your mind. When we speak of happiness and success, we also speak of emotional intelligence, which means awareness of people around you and being able to modulate your words accordingly. We know as grown-ups that we should not say certain things in front of children. We should not say certain things in front of your mother-in-law. We should not say certain things in front of bosses. So friends and sisters, brothers, maybe we can share most things. But there are so many filters. So in these filters, we have to understand the ways of society. And if we are able to control our behavior and behave in a manner that is pleasing to others as well as to ourselves without losing our cool, then we are conquering most of the battles. And if we are not losing our temper, that means that we are calmer individuals. Being calm is even good for people around us. If we are calm, they also learn some calmness. If you have someone who's very restless around you, or someone who's impatient, snappy, short tempered, not very positive in her or his way of thinking, then it is very, very important for you to either change your company, or if not possible, then try to change yourself in a manner that you don't become like that person. And then that person will see and learn better than if you keep telling them, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. That won't work. So it is better for you to work on yourself and then see if the other person follows suit. Happiness comes from the kinds of vibrations that we emit and the kinds of vibrations that we receive. What are these vibrations? We are in 2020 and we know a lot about the world and science and everything, but we still don't know about thought vibrations. And if you read spiritual books, or if you read, or if you imagine what people are thinking actually makes a change in your own environment, then it is possible to understand a little better. Thought vibrations are something that you can think of. What kinds of thoughts are you thinking all day long? Are you fretting, worrying, fearful? Why is this happening? Why is the pandemic there? Why am I having to have all these online classes? Of course, you are human and you can feel low or bad about things at sometimes. Not most of the time. Most of the time, we have to be gung-ho and happy and cheerful. Only sometimes we can feel low or irritated or disturbed because we are human. But the frequency and intensity of such behavior and conduct and feelings has to go down, has to reduce. Only then we are able to conquer our demons within. And that happiness or success comes to the person who is calm. The person who is calm. Calmness is something that comes from meditation, contemplation, introspection, thinking. Where am I weak? Do I worry about things which don't deserve worrying about? Do I lose my temper at things which should not really bother me that much? Sometimes to lose your calmness is fine, but most of the time, no. Paramahansa Yogananda, author of the autobiography of a yogi, and I have that book here. It's here, and it's the best book you can read, Autobiography of a Yogi. It's not a religious book, it's a spiritual, life-changing book. He said, be calmly active and actively calm. Be calmly active and actively calm. Being calmly active is a sure sign of someone who is in control of his senses, his emotions. And being actively calm means that you are working at your calmness. Calmness is a project. Calmness is a goal. Actively calm means I'm wondering, how am I behaving at 1 o'clock in the afternoon every day, 5 o'clock, 9 o'clock? Am I losing my cool by 5 o'clock? Am I tired by 9 o'clock maybe? Am I using too much of my smartphone? Am I too much in screen time? Can I go for a walk and change my circumstances? Can I do something to change my mindset? Calmly active is the way to be. And Yogananji also says, swing into action like the pendulum. But ultimately, the pendulum comes to a state of calmness when the action is over. So when your work is over, calmness. And calmness brings you back to success. Ultimately, the richest man in the world is not the most successful. The most successful person is the one who felt true happiness throughout his or her life, or most of the time. And it is said that when you're born, everybody is laughing because they're happy, and you are crying because you're a baby. But when you go from this world, leave such an impact and legacy and may leave such a mark that you are the only one smiling when you go and everybody else is crying. So that is the goal of life, and that is a successful person who has accumulated that goodwill, that reputation, that image, that kind of thinking that people have for him or her, which is of a very, very positive vibration. So that is something that will come through empathy, helping others, making sure that you are able to make a mark in their lives, and making sure that you are not only self-centered and me, I, and egocentric, and grateful for life. I'll tell you the story of Pedro. And Pedro was someone who went for an interview. And this interview was scheduled at 10:30 a.m. And Pedro was in a big city like New York or Delhi or Bombay. He borrowed somebody's car and he went for the interview, and he was late because he couldn't find a parking. And because he borrowed somebody's car, he can't leave the car in the middle of the road. It will be confiscated and gone. It will become very difficult for him. So what happens? Pedro is getting late, circling around the block of the interview location, and he keeps fretting, looking for the parking. After 20 or 25 minutes, he prays to God. God, please find me a parking. And sure enough, there he sees a parking immediately. A car has just moved out. He goes and parks. And he starts running towards the interview office. And he looks up at God and says, God, don't worry, I found the parking. Which means he thinks that he found the parking, whereas God found him the parking. Often, the smallest of things like a red light turning green when you are in a hurry is not really in your hands, but it has happened because God has been helpful. Often, green light turns red also. It doesn't happen all our way. But the thing is to be thankful. If your attitude of gratitude is within you, as a teacher, you are humble and grateful and have goodwill, then there is nothing to beat you. All the problems of this world will go away. They are only for a little while. Even the pandemic is only for a little while. What is 6 months or 5 months in a long life? Not much if you look at it. And in this era, in this time, in this period, so many people have lost their cool and their balance because of overthinking. Because of overthinking, they burden their minds. I have a video on overthinking, by the way. If you Google me or you search for me on YouTube, you'll find many, many videos. Many of them, 100 of them or 80 of them are from ideas that matter. And Atul and I have been in this series on emotional intelligence, on public speaking skills, on handling children, on technology, how to give better webinars, all these things we've been doing. And if you find time, watch inspirational videos, read inspirational books. Don't think that if you're a teacher now, you don't need to read anymore. You don't need to learn anything new. So it's very, very important that you keep learning. You keep reinventing yourself. And Alvin Toffler said, the world is about people who can unlearn, learn, and relearn. That means we need to keep changing our ways of thinking and upgrading our various talents that we have. Suddenly, the lockdown has forced us to upgrade ourselves in some ways. And we have learned very quickly what we had to do. It is very important for us to continue in that sense. So at the end of this, I hope we'll have some questions. Right now, I'm going to request Atul to come back and we can have a little bit of a chit chat, I guess, and then move forward.
Thank you, Vivek. You know, when you were talking, I was thinking about the time when I was growing up. So 30 years back, success was driven by our ability to solve mathematical problems, or physics problems, or chemistry problems, or probably biology if you wanted to be a doctor. I think the world has dramatically changed in the last 30 years. Success is not going to be driven by knowledge anymore. It's going to be driven by three things. And I've added the third today. The first is me skills. Me skills are our ability to learn, our ability to unlearn, ability to lead people. These are the skills that I have. We skills. We skills are the ability to collaborate, the ability to be a team player, and the ability to get things done from someone else. And the last is wisdom, because knowledge creates wisdom and wisdom is important. So far, computers can create knowledge, but they cannot create wisdom. So I think if our students have these three things, they have me skills, which also includes values, by the way. They know how to communicate well, they know how to get things done by the others, and they know how to create wisdom from knowledge, just like all those beautiful scriptures we have. Magic happens, success happens. Now, this is success in the conventional sense. You know, there was a research done by Harvard University, which is the world's number one university, Vivek, and they tried to look at the careers of some 600 different people across three generations. 300 of these 600 were Harvard graduates, very pampered, very elite, and 300 came from the streets of Boston. And they try to understand how many of them will succeed in life in the conventional sense. When I say I'm talking about money and I'm talking about power. Interestingly, there was no correlation between the Harvard guys or the kids who came from the streets in terms of success. There was the same probability of success. So your origins do not guarantee success. So what does? They found out was that people who are happy are much more successful than people who are not happy. So I remember when I was growing up, my dad told me, Atul, you get into IIT and you will be very happy and successful. I think the world has changed. If you're successful, you need not be happy. But if you're happy, your probability of success actually goes up by 50%, 50%. So how do we become happy? Of course, God is a great way to be happy, but being with family, being with friends, having a great life with the community, serving God is a great way to get happiness, Vivek. So people who were loners were known to die before the age of 70, or if they did reach the age of 80, they were not healthy. While people who were part of a community, had friends, had a family, would typically live up to 80 and be more successful than the loners. So that's my message to all of you. Yes, do push yourself towards the conventional sense of success, but you cannot escape from the spiritual side, because spiritual people will also be much happier than the others. I'm sure Sister talks about it all the time. So I wanted to show an example, a case study of a student of ours, Vivek. Her name is Aman. Aman comes from Punjab, comes from a lesser privileged family, and in the conventional sense has become very successful. She was a tough student. She didn't do well in her undergrad and masters, and then she joined her PhD program. She's now got a Young Water Fellowship. It's a very prestigious United Nations award. She's been to Geneva for more than 6 months as part of this award. More than 100,000 people across the world apply for this award every year. And here is Aman who gets it. So, what made Aman win the award? I think lots of people have the brains. Probably she was not as intelligent as the others. But I think two things, Vivek, that differentiated this time. She was collaborating with lots of people around, and we let her blossom. We basically let her think outside the box, be creative, and you spoke about creativity. So I'm going to show the small video, if you allow me, about Aman and her story. and we'll then get into the discussion and answer questions that the teachers have. So teachers, please feel free to ask questions that you have. Let me play the video. So that's the beauty of inspiration, Vivek, and the beauty of creativity. Magic can happen. And when we have students like Aman and we make them succeed, that's success to a teacher. Those are my last thoughts. Over to you.
Absolutely inspiring. In fact, Aman is an example of how a good teacher and teachers can make, as Atul said, an ordinary student into a fantastic achiever. And anybody who can do that as a teacher has actually inspired the student more than instructed the student. And that's what we're talking about. It's it's not easy, but it's okay to be able to instruct the student, make the student read a lot of books and go into depth of the subject. To motivate and inspire that student to achieve something so amazing is something even more important. And teachers who can do that are truly successful role models for everyone else. And I will tell you the story of a teacher who was a judo teacher. And there was a boy who was a one-armed boy. He had only one arm. This boy in Japan, he goes to this Japanese judo teacher. He says, "Sir, please teach me judo." And the teacher looks at him. He has one arm. He says, "Okay, I'll teach you judo." For 6 months, he teaches him one move. And this one move is the only move possible to be taught to this boy. And 6 months later, the boy asks him, "Sir, will you teach me another move now? I'm perfect at this one." He says, "No, we'll enter a competition." So they go and enter a tournament. And in that tournament, they find that the boy beats the first opponent, beats the second opponent with that one move. He keeps winning. And when he reaches the semi-final, he has a tough bout, but he somehow wins his semi-final also. In the final, the opponent is a huge big boy and very difficult to beat him. So he's like the coach and the boy, they both think that this one we're going to lose. But he goes and gives it his best. He's losing. But he suddenly finds that resolve, that power, and that one move which he knows, he manages to pin down the other boy, and the boy cannot get out of it. And that boy loses, and this boy wins. And by winning this tournament with one arm and one move, this boy has really made his teacher proud. And they're going back, and the boy says, "Sir, will you teach me anything more now?" He says, "No, you don't need anything more." He says, "This is the only move in judo which can be made with one arm. And the only way in which your opponent can defeat you is by pinning down your other arm. That is your right arm, which you don't have." So that disability became for that student such a plus point. Of course, he had to have a lot of power and fitness, agility, and perfection in the move. So all these things put together the teacher inspired the boy to become a champion with that disability. So these are the kinds of stories that even as grown-ups we need to keep on listening to, talking about, reading, and we don't need to just center ourselves on other things. Over to you, Atul.
Thank you, Vivek. I think we have around 10 odd minutes. I'd love to answer questions from the audience. So we have a few over here, Vivek. We've got Leonard who's asking one question, which I think you answer all the time, which is how do we remain stress free after such a hectic time? I mean, mixing family time and online classes. And I think that's true for all of us. We're just not teaching anymore. We've also become homemakers. We're taking care of our children. We're taking care of family and everyone else. So what do we do in these very stressful times? I can only tell you about myself, Vivek. I was speaking to Minakshi. She's a colleague. She said, "Sir, आजकल पता नहीं time कहाँ निकल जाता है." So we've actually become very, very busy nowadays. So what do we do? So Vivek, any thoughts? For some reason, I can't see you and you seem to be okay. I'll pick this up. I think we just lost Vivek over here. So Leonard, my thought is, yes, time is very stress-free. There's a lot of stress right now. Really, what I do is I've started doing 3, 4 things. First is I'm regularly reading books. I love reading books, and I could never do that. I could never do that earlier, so I've started reading books a little. So I'm giving that 1 hour to myself. So every day when I go back home, I give that 1 hour to myself, which I never was giving earlier. So that's one thing which I would encourage all of you to do. The second thing which I would encourage all of you to do would also be spirituality, thinking about God. So personally, I started meditation. Vivek is helping me on that. So we together follow something called the Yoga Satsang Society, Paramhansa Yogananda. So I do a lot of meditation. Vivek, of course, does a huge amount of it. And I think the third thing which I also do is I do spend a little bit of time in sports. So I started playing badminton, Vivek. So sports, pursuing my passion, and a bit of spirituality and meditation is what keeps me stress free. I don't know what your thoughts are, Vivek.
Wonderful. I think Atul absolutely brought us to the right point. And sorry, I had to just go out for a minute. The point is that we are talking about this calmness and this winning the battle within. What Atul mentioned about meditation is something that is absolutely vital. And the Bible, you follow, somebody's written on the message also. The Bible says, "Be still and know that I am God." Now, the stillness of mind is something so difficult to achieve for human beings. What are we meditating for? Basically, to quieten down those thoughts which are harassing us all the time. And if you read your scriptures and you meditate in whatever method you follow, Atul and I follow the Kriya Yoga method of YSS. You can follow any method and meditate and try to conquer these thoughts which are always troubling us. Your physical, mental, spiritual health improves so much. And one other quote from the Bible, which Paramahansa Yogananda mentions in the autobiography of a yogi, he mentions many times the Bible, but which I really like is forgiveness. Sometimes all these burdens that we carry are related to somebody said something, somebody did something. To forgive and forget is what we call, it's like being magnanimous. And why are we worried about what someone said? That is his problem. Why are we hurting? So if you forgive, and Yogananji quotes the Bible as saying that you should forgive someone 70 times 7. 70 times 7, which means endlessly. I know it means 490 times, but basically it means endlessly you should be forgiving. That means that you are not weak, but you are basically not going to let little things bother you. Forgive that person in your mind, and then you really grow as a person. Don't let little irritants bother you too much. I think I see someone writing forgive and forget, which is absolutely
That's
correct.
Pooja, ma'am. Absolutely. And we were talking about books. You know, Navdeep is saying that, I don't know whether it's a he or she, but reading a book on emotional intelligence by Daniel Goleman. That's a great book. I'm actually reading, now I'm like almost done with them. two books, and these are autobiographies. I love reading autobiographies. One is Mahatma Gandhi's experiments with truth, and the second is not Birbal, Babar's Babar Nama, and both of them are great individuals. I never had respect for Babar, but after reading the book, I can tell you, Vivek, uh, what a difficult life Babar had. We are fighting Corona. Since he was 8 years old, he was fighting death because people wanted to kill him. So for 30 years of his life, he was running from one village to the other, protecting himself, protecting his family. And finally, he came to India because he was expelled from Kabul. And he came, he won the battle of Panipat, and the rest is history. And he created the biggest empire, the richest empire the world has ever seen, which is the Mughal Empire. I don't know whether teachers know this, but at the time that Aurangzeb was the king or the emperor of India, India's GDP was 25% of the world's GDP. We are today 3% of the world's GDP. And that's the power and that's the beauty of the story of Babar. Mahatma Gandhi, of course, we all know his story and it is so inspirational. But
Atul, the books you're mentioning, the power of books actually, and you just mentioned the book that the teacher said, and here I have it.
Oh, lovely.
Emotional intelligence. Somebody, and I quote it many times, and I must show my book again, Finding Success Within. Read books, teachers. I tell you, Atul and I have been urging teachers to read. We read books ourselves. There is no need, but there is a need. So you keep learning. My book is available on Amazon. It gives you 52 tips and life skills to handle life better. And there are so many reasons to read books, which will give you a lot of mental and spiritual progress. So must do that.
So there's a question from Rakhi, ma'am, and I think it's so relevant. She's saying many times the parents' point of view in terms of success is so different from the child's. So how do we convince the parents in this type of situation?
I think this is a very, very good question. And Atul, you'll be happy to know I just made a video on the parent-child relationship. And this is a point that I covered. And this is something that basically the communication between parents and children, it has to continue. What happens when the child becomes a teenager, he or she goes into his shell. And that is natural. It's a normal thing. Somebody who's in puberty and teenage, at adolescence, that child becomes withdrawn and shy and not talking and into the smartphone nowadays, communicating with friends and relatives like that. So it becomes very difficult for that parent to talk to that child. And it is very important to somehow keep that communication going. And then parents' perception and children's perception, there will be some common ground. Supposing, like we've seen the movie Three Idiots, where the father wants the boy to become an engineer and he wants to become a wildlife photographer. One of the three, I think it's Madhavan's role. And the wildlife photographer is something that the parent cannot accept. So parents also have to understand that this is 2020. I can tell you my own daughters, two daughters. One of them did economics and then she's done a course from Ashoka University, Young India Fellowship. And then she's gone into working for NGOs. And she's doing work in the social sector. And she loves it. The other one, after English and after some art and art therapy, she's doing counseling and writing therapy, art therapy, just started online. So these are vocations or professions or pursuits which did not exist earlier. And parents typically would, I know my daughter's friends who studied in the same class, they also want to do similar things. And all their parents want them to become investment bankers and become rich like Atul used to be, as he says, become those corporate types. But they don't want to. So that perception difference can only be minimized through communication, constant understanding and communication.
And I think it's also about choosing the right college or the right university, Vivek. There is so much flexibility in education right now. For example, at Shoolini, I could be learning artificial intelligence or computer science and simultaneously getting a minor in music, or learning music and getting a minor in computer science. So choosing a university that gives the student the right platform of flexibility, learning different things can also go a long way, because typically I think as a student you understand what you really want by the time you're 20. I'll give a small example. I thought I would like to be an engineer, and I went to IIT Kanpur. I was a disaster as an engineer. Only after 2 or 3 years, I figured out that I enjoy finance and economics way more than business, than engineering. So I think doing something more flexible, doing something that opens up our spectrum is very important. I also believe that liberal arts is very important in education. So the softer sciences, ability to communicate, learning music or philosophy or other forms of arts, as we call them, those subjects are very, very important as we get into higher education. So I think that's one area that the parents can probably help the children by choosing the right university.
Absolutely, absolutely, Atul. Really, really important. And that, in fact, I must say, Shoolini is so advanced that now this new education policy has mentioned this as one of the preferences, that a major and a minor should be a part of a graduation course also. But you've been doing it forever, and that is something that really is important, because children should not be, so restricted that this or nothing, do or die. That kind of feeling doesn't bring out the best. When a student is comfortable with his choices or her choices, then that creativity comes out. It's very, very important to encourage that.
So, Vivek, we are sort of coming to an end. I'll request our friends from the school to please come, unmute themselves, and also, if you could play your videos, we'll love to see your lovely faces. And my last thought, which I'd like to give all the teachers here, is as you think about success and you think about teaching better, learning to teach online will be a very important part of your life. As part of learning to teach online, you have to engage your students. And there's some basics over here. The basics really are: make sure that your technology is in place, make sure that you're dressed properly. But then this is your time. You are the hero or the heroine of this movie that you're creating. Experiment, learn every day. Large number of videos on YouTube on how to deliver exceptional online classes, online lectures. Experiment with that. So, Vivek, I'm also experimenting on how to deliver good sound. I hope my sound was good. I just recently bought a toy. I bought a microphone.
It's very nice.
So I hope my sound was perfect, which normally sort of breaks in a online class. So invest in that invest in the things that you love, and you don't have to only teach subjects that sister gives you. You can also create your own videos and put them on YouTube. What an amazing world we're getting into, Vivek.
I totally agree. And I see the management and teachers like to say something.
So I think before we close for the day, what I always do is I always request the people on the panel to give their last thoughts. And I want to start with you, Vivek. The only challenge which I have for you is that you're only allowed one sentence. So Vivek, over to you, and then we'll go to Sister and Vandana ma'am and Leonard.
So we talked about finding success within. I've given you the points already. So my one sentence is that just be connected, be cheerful, be happy, and keep in touch.
Sister, any thoughts for the
Yes.
teachers?
Yeah. First of all, I would like to thank both of you, Mr. Vivek and Mr. Atul. It was nice hearing, very inspiring and thought-provoking. And I'm sure teachers will take home this message, be an inspiration to our students, and forgiveness, be calm, because at this time we need to be more calm. When we are calm, when we are patient with ourselves, only we can be patient with our students, because our frustration should not be transmitted to our students. So let us with this. And I like the way that you said the spirituality, the prayer does help us, the meditation help us to calm ourselves, and then we can also inspire our students to become more calm. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister. Vandana ma'am, anything you'd like to say before we close for the day?
Yes, sir. The session was really enlightening, sir. And what I learned today, and which I would like to pass on to my faculty members also, that we are indebted by your words, your approach to life, mantras of success, meditation, reading, pursuing hobbies, which I think are the real perspectives of happy life. So you have given us those uh, almonds, which will really help us to go further in this stressful scenarios nowadays, which is going on. Thank you very much, sir, from the depth of my heart for this wonderful session.
Thank you, Vandana. And of course, we had Leonard participating very actively on chat. We'd love to hear you too, Leonard.
Yes, yes, sir. It was really good. I would say, the words of George Bernard Shaw, as I was listening to your explanation, okay, the question which I put, the sentence goes like this: life is not about finding yourself, but it is about creating yourself.
Right.
And it was so wonderful, so wonderful. I was listening to you both, and unmoved. It was so nice. We felt, like I would say, it would be a new energy. It was so difficult. Sometimes it becomes so difficult to manage, but yes, thank you very much. Thank you so much for those inspiring stories that you shared with us, and so good advice that you have given us. It was really, really great. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leonard. As you were quoting George Bernard Shaw, I'd like to quote Vivek, and Vivek talks about this all the time. It's Vivek's quote: "It's not about getting marks; it's about making a mark."
Yeah.
So may all of us make a mark in this very difficult time. I do know that COVID is not there to stay. So I will say, be happy, stay away from all the hustle and bustle, because we don't know where COVID is. But be happy. I think we learned that happy people are successful. So wish all of you lots and lots of happiness, and thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you,
Thank
Yeah,
Vivek.
you.
thank
Thank you
you.
so
Thank
Thank
much.
you
Coming.
so much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you,
much, sir.
sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.